There's a question I see come up from time to time regarding the statement that consciousness is one. The question is, if this is so, why don't we all know each other's thoughts? Well, we are forms that arise from matter due to the will or force that shapes reality, and the forms we take ourselves to be project an impression of this phenomenal world into the awareness of what sees dreams. And it's really the same fabric as dreams. So there can be alignment, sort of a unity of experience, but not the mind reading, between two beings who are in full surrender to the scope, sovereignty, and perfection of divine will. In that surrender, what's perceived and projected into the astral bears true witness to and has alignment with divine will, which defines perfection by virtue of its primacy, its sovereignty, its isness. But still, people don't read each other's minds. They sense the love reflecting from the stillness of their spiritual hearts. The universe has demonstrated a means of moving matter in a way that allows for the projection of that phenomenal world into the astral realm through the conversion of solar energy into edible matter that fuels the projection, that lets its expression be known. Where the space from which it arises can perceive it, and the love that it is, the love that is that space, can shine back through the heart to what perceives our projection of reality into the astral. Its alignment with the truth determines its value, in that it projects suffering, which is resistance to what is. So we each project this fruit of either the truth or resistance into the realm of dreams. The wheat bears the truth, and the tares bear a distortion of it. The truth is not denominated in mental alternatives to it. Truth is the present. The only way reality is experienced through what we take ourselves to be is a projection of sense data, of qualia appearing in the awareness we are. Our perception of reality is woven into the fabric of dreams, but it's more consistent than a dream due to the greater stability of the phenomenal model from which it draws its inspiration. It also has a higher thread count, so to speak, the projection of reality into awareness versus a dream. There is a tendency for there to be belief in what appears in awareness, to believe that it's real. This is the gullibility of pure consciousness. The child believes all until experience establishes ideas about the truth that can only be overthrown with proof. dreams are not typically taken to be dreams at the time of their experiencing. The awareness that experiences them believes all that it sees when there's an absence of referential material against which to check it. The dream is believed unless it discovers an inconsistency through the triggering of a memory that doesn't align with the experience at hand. Or if the question arises, is this a dream? We are what experiences the perceptions, but what's perceiving is not perceivable. The dream has an awareness, the dreamer has an awareness of their identity, but there is belief that strange things are truly happening. What can make a dream go lucid is the appearance of an extremely familiar item that is altered in a way that's believable but sufficiently unlikely so as to call into the question of the reality of the whole situation. Then the question may be asked, is this a dream? And the truth of the situation may be discovered. So this mundane object that appears commonly in the waking life appears in a dream, and it's different in a way that's not really consequential, that it doesn't make sense that anybody would do this. There's no logical reason for it. And then reality can be questioned at a prompting such as that. When the dream is revealed to be a dream, the result may be a loss of interest, or conversely, more engagement and conscious interaction with the dream world. When, through the conservation of energy during the day, the dream is projected at a higher voltage, so to speak, there is more opportunity for a full landscape of objects to appear and be questioned. The probability of their state and position can be considered. If the question becomes habitual throughout the day, is this a dream? That question may make its appearance in the night. For some people, lucid dreaming is unlikely when they have ingested substances that don't allow for dreaming. For some people, that's delta 9 THC. But outside of that, spiritual practice that increases presence will conserve enough energy to amplify the dreamscape. The point of all this, relative to the original question, is that the projection of the phenomenal world into the astral can happen only when that which arranges matter succeeds in building a form that can convert gross matter into the subtle energy that's projected into the astral realm. That energy comes from the sun. It's photosynthesized into edible form by plants and consumed by primary and secondary consumers. The animals project the truth of divine will into the astral realm. The qualia that's projected into the astral realm by them is a true representation of what's happening. It's not distorted by the knowledge of good and evil that judges it, that being reality, to be inadequate, and thus obscures its projection with the desire for it to be another way, which is resistance, which, when the resistance is against the truth, then it's dissonance. But when the I thought returns to the spiritual heart from which it arose in the child upon the perception of duality, there is no abiding consideration for an alternative to what's appearing in awareness. A projection that is harmonized with the truth appears in the astral. In that clarity, that harmonization of the projection of reality and the will and space from which it arises has all and has all potentiality, shines as a palpable reflection of love emanating from the spiritual heart. In this arrangement, there is a singular experience being projected by multiple forms. Holons are conscious subunits of a system that is itself conscious. They have some form of awareness in that they respond to signals, be they chemical or bioelectrical. They have a way of informing their body mates, fellow and differentiated cells, of their status and maybe information about some situation. If they transmit and receive information faithfully, responding to the true circumstance, they perceive themselves to be part of the greater unit with which they communicate. They operate then in the interest of the system. But if by virtue of a mutation it becomes blind to the signals coming from the greater organism, they may go rogue and begin cannibalizing the resources of the body to replicate itself, and in so doing drain the body's life energy and pollute it with waste product. When the mind is in resistance to truth, there is a greater sense of separation from others. When the fingerprint of identity is more built up and complex, comfort is experienced in the company of those with sufficient overlap, either in form or worldview. So the more identity that's cultivated in a person, the more overlap they need with their company to be comfortable. So when that is cultivated, there's a consequence for the person's state of being. It's not just what content is taken, it's just the sheer volume of it, the weight of it all, the complexity of it. It absorbs up a lot of energy, to the extent that the more identifiers you have, the less likely it is the world will honor them all, and thus the more stress that's put onto the being. So the cultivation of that fingerprint, it's conducive to a spiritual inversion and more suffering. The lens through which creation is projected into the astral, to the extent that it is in submission to the truth of the will that forms the phenomenal world, it will be in harmony with the truth. This requires a stillness that appears perpetually only in the death of identification with one to win and lose, the physical and conceptual selves that appear in the awareness that we are.